Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I'm your host, Willie Bragg. I was supposed to be here yesterday, but I overslept, and I was just like, nah, let me get the rest of my sleep. So I'm glad to be back here, and we got stuff to share, story wise regarding British politics, because a few days ago I talked about Elon Musk forming the America Party, which is a party presumably like a tech bro version of kind of like a right wing faction of MAGA that's they're all right wing, a faction of MAGA that's more tech bro oriented. But I guess you could say flirt with maybe millennial Generation Z fascism. Not saying, just it's kind of a weird evolution that's taking place with Elon Musk. And with Elon Musk, it's the one thing to welcome about it is that it divides the right. I'm all about dividing the right. And so, let them fight. Let them fight. Encourage it. Encourage it. So anyway, we have here on the chat line Jacqueline Jack H, Vivo Law 100. Hey, how are you doing today? And I'm going to start with a comedy video to share with you all, and to kind of lighten the mood before we get to, as I said, the meat and potatoes of it all. So give me a moment here. This is from the Erica Crooks show. This video is a couple of years old. Let me do this. All right, we'll do it this way. And it's called Dirtbag Left, the Erica Crooks show 2021. Yeah, that was from the Erica Cook show, and so it kind of like segue to what we're going to be discussing, British politics, and so that's what I'm about to do. About to basically talk about British politics for a moment here, because Jeremy Corbyn was a longtime British Labour MP from Islington North constituency. You'd be surprised how many British people, when I talk about various constituencies, which are like U.S. congressional districts here, how weirded out, almost charmed that I would basically know what a constituency is, and who some of these MPs in Parliament, who they are. So, and that's the thing right there. Yeah, I mean, I've always kept up with a lot of British politics. Probably since I was a teenager. I probably kept up with. Strangely enough, I've always kept up with with basically British politics all the way through, and British humor, British comedy, British music, British culture is kind of had an influence on me when I was growing up, my formative years, as they say, and so I became basically a socialist. Listening to Billy Bragg growing up, watching the young ones, it had an impression on me, and I did my research on my own, and I thought, hey, things like the National Health Service make sense, and this is before Thatcher came along. The idea of nationalized industries for the public good was something that was worth looking into in America. You can call it the New Deal on steroids in a positive way. So anyway, I think it was in 1983, Jeremy Corbyn got elected in the Islington North constituency. That's in London, and he's pretty much what Labour meant for decades. basic socialist is what he always was, and still is. He didn't lead the British Labour Party in many ways. The British Labour Party left him, and during the days of Tony Blair, it was kind of going on with Neil Kinnock after Michael Foot's defeat. And I'll tell you a quick thing about Michael Foot's defeat. And well, actually, you know what? I just thought about it. I'll play if I can find a clip here on. I can find the clip section here. I will play you some Michael Foot, tell you about it, because he sort of relates to, in many ways, to he kind of relates in many ways to Jeremy Corbyn, because of the election of 1983 and kind of what it meant. So give me a moment here. We'll find that clip. One thing you could say about me is when it comes to YouTube, I can find the clips that I need to find most of the time quickly. Okay, here we go. This is a clip from Michael Foot in 1965 interview, I believe, from the BBC, and here we go.
Tub-thumping orator and a literary scholar. And though he's a grizzled veteran of Labour's many civil wars, his own brand of socialism has always been difficult to define.
You've never been a pacifist, have you? Well, you're not a pacifist.
I'm not a pacifist, no.
And you've never had any sympathy with communism as a doctrine, or totalitarianism. You've never flirted with that, have you?
I've never been a communist.
You're not really a Marxist, are you?
A bit more of a Marxist, I would have thought.
And you're not a Christian socialist?
No.
Well, then, where is the mainspring of your socialism? What kind of socialist are you?
I don't know what kind of label you put on it. I'm a libertarian socialist.
Libertarian socialist?
I believe that socialism is the way to get the greatest freedom for individuals.
Tub-thumping orator.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry that the sound wasn't as good as it needed to be, but that's a clip of Michael Foot, 1965, being interviewed. He was a Labour MP, forgot the constituency with him, but he was considered a far left MP. And in 1979, he took over the leadership of the British Labour Party. And in 1983, unfortunately, the British Labour Party went down in flaming defeats, probably the worst election results ever. They were so decimated that they were almost a third party by the time Thatcher was through with them. The British Labour Party campaign manifesto in 1983 basically promised to renationalize the industries that Margaret Thatcher privatized and expand on nationalization, to exit out of NATO, to basically not belong to be a member of the EU. The original Brexit, when it was a flaming left ideology, he promised to refurbish the National Health Service and to beef up the welfare state. And it was, and basically to not have antagonistic relations with the Soviet Union or the Eastern Bloc. That was part of the campaign manifesto, to eliminate the Trident nuclear weapons program. It was a solid left-wing manifesto. It was nicknamed by the British press and the right wing at the time as the longest suicide note in history. To basically put it all in a nutshell, it just almost appeared as if the previous socialism that was kind of embraced by everyone, including the Tories, basically was abandoned by Thatcher's 1983 win. Now, I'm going to tell you something about her win in 1983. It wasn't because she was popular. It wasn't because, her economic policies were working, because they weren't. It actually increased unemployment. It created a lot of instability in a lot of people's lives. I mean, people who had jobs for years what would be the equivalent of our middle class in Britain got decimated when she started privatizing things like the steel industry and privatizing things, especially like the coal industry. As you remember, the coal miner strikes in Britain in the 80s. And so, she is hated, totalitarian to the core, that when there was a city, Liverpool had a radical Labour government in 1983. Their municipal government kind of went against the grain of what happened with the election results. And so they actually was going to expand the socialism on a municipal level to make up for what was being done against them on the level coming from Westminster. And that was called, she actually had them arrested, kind of like Trump trying to arrest. She had them arrested, and it was referred to as socialism on trial, or what became known as the Liverpool 47. And some of them were put in prison for defying Margaret Thatcher. And of course, we all know how Margaret Thatcher was able to get to be taken down, because she was so arrogant that she decided by the late 80s that to implement a poll tax on the British people. They weren't having it. And there was mass protests in London, and she ordered them to attack the protesters. And it was such a public embarrassment to her that her cabinet ganged up on her and basically say, listen, you're going to have to step down as a Tory leader. And eventually John Major took over the leadership of the Tory party. He became by default the prime minister. So, but Margaret Thatcher was a nasty person. Well, in 1983, with that election defeat of Labour, ironically in Islington, Jeremy Corbyn was elected as an MP. He was anti-apartheid, fought against racism, fought to keep the welfare state, fought to keep the NHS vibrant and readily available to all people, free at need, without cost to the pocket. He was basically always on the side of human rights, always sided with the trade unions, that sort of thing. And he, and one of his more controversial views, it shouldn't be controversial, but the fact that he's always been a passionate supporter of Palestinian rights, even at a time when it was, even in Britain, it was political suicide to take it to that level. And so, and he was always anti-war, consistently anti-war. And, I remember when I went to the Assange March in D.C., and I came home. Well, I didn't come home. I went to the hotel room, and after dinner, and I was watching the ones from England, and they interviewed Jeremy Corbyn about Assange, and he gave a very passionate support for free speech, which I was a little pleasantly surprised, because I figure, as great as he is on everything, and considering the British culture is not necessarily free speech friendly, I figured he'd be woke in the bad sense that he may favor censorship, but not at all. He ended up being like a staunch proponent. He made a beautiful speech about why we need to preserve freedom of the press and freedom of speech. And I was just like, this is a good man all the way through. I already had a positive opinion. I always affectionately nicknamed Jeremy Corbyn as Britain's better Bernie. So what happened? Why is he not a member of the Labour Party anymore, representing the Islington North constituency? It's largely to do with his support for Palestinian rights. A vicious rumor about him being anti-Semitic circulated in the UK. I like it. I like that, Warren. Bill Bernie better. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The thing about it is that he was a staunch proponent of Palestinian rights. And they started circulating a rumor in Britain and outside, especially in the United States, that this Jeremy Corbyn character is anti-Semitic. I can't think of anything he's ever said that was anti-Jewish. In fact, if anything, he's been pretty much supportive of the Jewish community. But that support for the Jewish community doesn't extend to licking the assholes of people like Benjamin Netanyahu. And to some people in Britain and in the United States, and to a lesser extent the rest of the West, but in particular the United States and Britain, if you're not sitting there tossing Benjamin Netanyahu's salad, you're anti-Semitic, which pisses me off. And and these people never had an answer in 2016 when I would answer that. I said, "Oh, if you're questioning Netanyahu, that makes you anti-Semitic." I said, "Well, motherfuckers, you guys don't support Bernie Sanders. I guess that makes you anti-Semitic, huh? It didn't faze them when I brought that up, but suffice to say, 2019, the British election took place. He was the leader of the Labour Party at that point. And well, let's go to 2017. 2017, there was after what was his name? David Cameron. It was David Cameron that stepped down, and Theresa May took over the leadership of the Tories. She was able to keep a Tory government. I think that's what happened. That is what happened. The Labour Party did so well under Jeremy Corbyn that they became like a credible opposition, like a very strong oppositional force. Only way she was able to create her Tory government was to reach out for a nasty political party in Northern Ireland called the Democratic Unionist Party. A little history on the Democratic Unionist Party. The Democratic Unionist Party is a right-wing Protestant party in Northern Ireland, created by Ian Paisley, the late Ian Paisley. And it's connected with the Free Presbyterian Church of Northern Ireland, a break away from the Presbyterian Church, a fundamentalist group. And so she reached out to them, and that was to prevent a Labour government from taking place. Now, I heard people like American commentators, Mark Levin, say how great it was that she did that to prevent an anti-Semite like Jeremy Corbyn from becoming prime minister. Anti-Semitism is an evil. I denounce it 100%. It's as evil. Anti-Jewish bigotry is as evil as anti-Muslim bigotry, which Mark Levin is no stranger to. But so is anti-Catholicism, which is what the Democratic Unionist Party advocated. So is homophobia, which is what the Democratic Unionist Party advocated. And as you know, that any ultra right-wing Christian organization that is anti-LGBTQ and anti-Roman Catholic, you know that being anti-Muslim and being anti-Jewish is going to be around the corner. So, you know, just kind of like, no, fuck off, Mark Levin. You know, you're wrong as usual. If anybody was bad in that relationship in the election, it was Theresa May. I don't think she's anti-Catholic. I don't even think she's homophobic. But the fact that she reached out to that group, you know, was kind of disconcerting. But they were the official opposition with a Labour Party that's kind of kicked away the old Tony Blair style New Labour project, basically, which staturized the Labour Party in the way that the Democratic Party was Reaganized by Bill Clinton. With the 2019 election, I believe with, what's his name? Boris Johnson, when he became the leader of the party / the prime minister. Though he basically bribed the British people into not doing the hard Brexit by beefing up the welfare state. And it was basically because of the influence of Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party, which at that point once again became socialist. He was kicked out of the Labor Party after the election, and Keir Starmer took over. And when Keir Starmer took over, the Labor Party went back into that Tony Blair third way direction. So much so that to call it socialist in any meaningful sense, it's not anything to basically to brag about. And the thing about it is, you might have some MPs. They're the real deal. In fact, they are. I mean, you got a caucus in the parliament called the British Labour Party Socialism Campaign Group. And they're there to try to keep the party on the left. And I think that entity will be disappearing, and I'll tell you why in a moment. And I'll say this before I get to the article at hand. Now, is the British Labour Party even today better than the U.S. Democratic Party? Sure. But it's certainly not what it was, during the days of Harold Wilson or Clement Attlee. And that's the thing right there. So let's see what we have here. We have, from the Daily Mirror. What Jeremy Corbyn's new party means for Keir Starmer. July 7th, 2025. Fleet Street Fox columnist. Keir Starmer kicked Jeremy Corbyn out of the Labour Party, out of his party, only to find that he's starting a new one. Says Fleet Street Fox. It's nothing else. It's a sign your party skills needs a polish. Imagine a party not going well. The levelers playing on the loop, the vegan nibbles are untouched, and half the guests have wander off. Scrolling. So you take over the stereo and slap on mainstream rock, pop, opens the Pringles, flourish some red meat. Tell everyone, let's make this a real party. People start wandering back. They may be not convinced. Some bloke called Nigel has a pub locking down on the road, and the sound of Quo is thumping through the shrubbery. But they'll give a whirl for now. So you head to the kitchen where you realize the place is a mess and you should have planned ahead to bring gloves and matches. Rachel can't locate the powerhouse. Wes has his head in the oven, and Angela is complaining bitterly. Having just released a shopping bag contains vegetarian sausage and some special mayonnaise. You can tell about the British food's not the greatest in the world, with due respect to these people. I'll have to tell you sometime about my trip to England and some of the way that people prepared food. You pop your head around the door and see how it's going. But someone put Morrissey on. I saw Morrissey on concert once. The sofas are filled with low energy resentment, and someone asked for the minicab number. From the front door comes the sound of laughter. When you push through your guest, Jessa, having screaming row with Zara in the front garden. It spills down the street, and half the party follows just to see what happens next. This is where Keir Starmer finds himself. Leader of a party of new people that were not convinced and drained through the conf, wondering why no one wants his non-alcoholic, not much punch. Other parties are starting up left, right, and further right with responsible offerings, nerve-shattering sound levels, and 100% more vibrancy. There is only one thing that works in this situation, and Keir needs to do for the Labour Party is the same thing Jeremy Corbyn did by talking about having a new party, making things more interesting. There's Keir Starmer and Jeremy Corbyn back in the day. Were the metaphor to extend down this far down the page, it would have involved the current affairs, equivalent to putting the primal scream and breaking out the vodka instead. We got the walls to the cut. He turns a narrative of failure, gloom, and irreversible decline. It's like watching Milli Vanilli when their CD got stuck. Remember them? I'm sorry. Let's see. Okay. Keir got rid of Jeremy once, and it did make his party more attractive. Excuse me. There's something blocking here. To the mainstream voter. Attracted to the mainstream voter. But that was 5 years ago when people were desperate to be done with the hurly-burly Boris and Brexit. A professional capable of combing his hair was always going to be the last man standing, but he was never going to be the best person to hold the attention of the public attuned to clickbaits and chaos. Enter Nigel, stage right, and Jeremy, stage left. Both of them formed from splinters of mainstream parties that the voters fell out of love with, both occupying a radical niche and both capable of causing division quicker than large hadron collider. Nigel, of course, popular, and of course, to be PM. If you believe Nigel and forget the one question of him properly yet. Jeremy is a tried and tested failure at the ballot box, but not to say that that his time won't come. And when the centrists fell, the extreme arise. Nigel's outfit is tainted by a near total lack of fact checking, both in and who recruits and what it says. Jeremy manages the amazing feat of splintering his split with his core hope, Zara Sultana, announcing it before there was a name. Reportedly, before Jeremy was ready, Nigel always argues with comrades and flounces out. Corbyn always ignores what he doesn't like. None of it matters. Both men are magnets to the mentally ill, and these days just talk to everyone, talk about everybody. Basically, in a nutshell, a new party's being formed. And there's not a name for this party yet, but what's happening in the UK is this. Jeremy Corbyn is forming a new political party. And it could be possibly the biggest left-wing challenge to Labour in decades. Labour always had splits over the years. And it wouldn't be anything new if that's what happened again. I mean, the last major left-wing split, I guess you could say the Green Party is a major split. My friend Angie Moon, who's been on this show, she's been a guest several times. She lives in England, lives in Coventry, and I had her over here on the show last year talking about the British election, and she voted Green Party, and she gave her American perspective on the election. So thing about it is the Green Party it's like the new left-wing challenger to Labour, but there was also, for a while, Respect with George Galloway. Of course, and now he's with a party called the Workers' Party. He got elected last year for a few months, and in a special election, but he got defeated. And he's got a good show, mother of all talk shows. Warren a few times, dressed up as George Galloway. Did a good job doing so. You live in Coventry, Jacqueline? Is that? I didn't know you live in Coventry. Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to tell Angie about you. So, but anyway, getting back to what I was saying, I encourage this new party to be formed. Maybe the British Labour Party campaign for socialism, socialist campaign group. Sorry, maybe there's about 15 members or something like that. They go and split off, join with Sarah Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn. You would definitely have a force to reckon with, and I would encourage it. And they could basically play the same kind of role in British politics that the left party plays in Sweden to keep the Social Democrats on the left, or the Green Party in Germany to keep the Social Democrats on the left, or the Communist Party in France that keeps this for many years kept the Socialist Party on the left. The alignment is kind of skewed in France right now. Probably Portugal is a better example at this point. Basically, I'm not saying they're communists. Some of them are communists in that campaign group. Some of them are more like traditional left-wing social democrats that did not go rightward. But the point is that they are the left inside the Labour Party. And if they split to go with Jeremy Corbyn, Labour looks more centrist and pathetic, and they deserve to be punished. I've often said that the Democratic Party left-wing members need to split off to form their own party. And it makes more sense to me now, and everybody tells me all the millions of reasons in the world that Americans cannot have a third party on the left, period. Oh, well, you just can't just form a third party. It doesn't work in America. You want to go make a difference, work inside the Democratic Party. Many do. You can't primary that centrist. You're just going to go and make us look like a bunch of left-wing extremists. So they tell the left-wing people in the Democratic Party, you stay in your place and we'll punch you down if you dare even talk back to us. Well, that's kind of what's went on in the UK right now. They have punched left enough inside the Labour Party to justify creating a new party. Oh, there would have been a time I would have been like, no, the Labour Party is still left-wing enough that you can, leftists can fight. And I still say that might be the case, more so than in the Democratic Party. But right now, if you can't learn from the mistakes of Tony Blair, and you're going to have someone like Keir Starmer become the leader of the Labour Party, then, you didn't learn your lesson after all. Jeremy Corbyn delivered the goods. Jeremy Corbyn, as a leader of the Labour Party, delivered the goods. He basically almost became prime minister. And honestly, the platform, the campaign manifesto, wasn't that far left. I mean, it wasn't to the level of Michael Foot's Labour Party in 1983. Which, if I was in Britain, that's what I would advocate. I would advocate that campaign platform for 1983. I think it would win an election today in Britain, the 1983 campaign manifesto. But what Jeremy Corbyn offered was pretty damn good. Superior to anything that Tony Blair had to offer, or Gordon Brown, or all these other fuckers that were the leader of the party here and there. I hope that Jeremy Corbyn will do well with this third party. I have a sneaking feeling that they will be a force. And it needs to happen. Because, if the Labour Party, under the current leadership of Keir Starmer, will do more to Americanize Britain's political culture, which has already been Americanized to a large extent already. I mean, you got Nigel Farage, the far-right guy, with billboards in England calling for the elimination of the NHS and to replace the NHS with an insurance-based system. In other words, to recreate the failure that's the American model. I have enough faith in the British people that they know that the American model is diarrhea. It's bullshit. It's feces, as far as I'm concerned. The profit-based model, the universal system called single payer that provides medical care for everybody versus pay or die in America. We need in America to crush the medical industrial complex and to replace it with a healthcare system that meets the needs of the people instead of the profit motive. That's one thing the British people definitely got right in 1948 after World War II. And to keep the NHS, to keep the welfare state, to keep the unions. Yeah, the unions are stronger still in Britain today than they are in America. They need to be stronger than what they are currently. But here in the United States, the unions are just so damn weak and pathetic. To the British people, you have it marginally better than us here in America right now. Got to fight like hell for it. And I would say if I lived in the UK, whatever this political parties call, count me in it. Because, what, right now, Keir Starmer is a recipe for disaster. So I encourage this, and I hope there'll be more talk about what's going on with Jeremy Corbyn in England. He's a good man. I respect him a great deal. And I wish there were more politicians like him in the UK. Hell, I wish there were more politicians like him in America. Kashama Sawant might be one of them. She might be the American counterpart at this point. I will, of course, like to see her elected. Even in New York City, Zoran Madami, I'm not excited by him, but, I certainly think he's the preferable candidate in that election. But I have no high hopes for him. I see him being basically, I wouldn't be surprised he turns into another AOC, referring to Zoran. But in Britain, things are a little more optimistic for the left than compared to the United States. It's not a very high bar when anybody's to the left of the United States. And the United States is the most conservative society in the Western world, in the most psychotic, stupid ways. I would never be a conservative anywhere, but they're less religiously fanatical in other parts of the world. They're not entirely opposed to the welfare state and universal health care in the ways that they are here in the United States. So much so that even their liberal counterparts here in the United States are almost as bad as the right. So anyway, I'm meandered long enough. I'll talk to y'all in the chat lines, and I have to go to work in a short while. Chuck's Intergalactic UFO Show. Willie, Bo Willie, Banana Fan, Fo Philly. Hey, how are you doing? The Secret Show. Hey, Warren, you're looking kind of stuff. No sound. For real? When will we start voting for him? Hey, Andy Dudley. Intergalactic UFO Show says intergalactic commerce friendly socialism is pretty much what goes on in the rest of the galaxy. There's a few corporations, but they've been regulated. Yep. We need to do something like that here. Imagine Starmer endorsing and leaving NATO, says JK. The unemployed were known as Maggie's Millions for nothing. She was also nicknamed the Milk Snatcher. when she was the Minister of Education during the Ed Heath government. She eliminated the free milk program in the schools, referred to as the milk snatcher, which is funnier than the Iron Lady. Hula babies. I see Starmer has done an Ian Burr dirty. What else is new? Bill Bernie better. And I commented on that earlier. Bernie and Jeremy, president and prime minister at the same time. That would have been made a beautiful world. Yes, but what we ended up having was Trump and Johnson. Now we have Trump and, well, I guess Starmer, but yeah, Starmer's nothing to write home about. Witchy Perfect says, Max RJ. Future Fumar Music, Cure Polanski Paradigm. Unlike Jeremy, Bernie has seriously gone down in my estimation. Same here. Jeremy has always been consistent, always stood up for what he believed in. New Deal politics definitely needs to make a comeback, but it needs to be on steroids. We need an international New Deal. Yes, we do. This guy is quite well informed. Thank you. I try to be. 2017, Israel had 13%, 2025. Palestine is 58% plus with women. Not sure what you mean by that. 43% for men. The love should unite. They should. Reptile empathy and into the magician. Let's take a look over here and see. I got to go in a minute, so I want to make sure nobody's left out here. Party have a name yet? Not yet. So as far as we know, I would say if they wanted to have my input on it, I would say call it the Independent Labor Party. There's a reason for that. And the reason for that is that the Independent Labor Party existed before the British Labor Party was founded in 1906. It started off as the Labor Representation Committee in 1900, became the Labor Party in 1906. In 1918, it officially became a Socialist Party. So, but the Independent Labor Party was a Socialist Party from day one. And it worked outside the Labor Party, and sometimes it worked inside the Labor Party. Like, for example, Michael Foot was a member of the Independent Labor Party. Always has been. And it was sort of like a left-wing pressure group inside the Labor Party. And in 1975, they dissolved and became a publication called Labor Left Briefings, which I don't know if it still exists today or not. I know it did 20 years ago. I would say bring back the Independent Labor Party and basically paying homage to the old party that made labor good to begin with in the first place. So that's the thing right there. Hi, P Stuff. How are you doing today? So anyway, y'all, we'll come back and talk about this party that he's created and see where everything is going. I have to go in a few minutes, but I wanted to talk about it in my casual way. And I find it encouraging. So I'll conclude by saying that if you like what you heard, please press like and comment. Comment any way you disagree with what I have to say. We'll have a conversation. Feel free to share any content on this channel you want to. That's the First Amendment absolutist. It's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. In addition thereof, remember to reject corporate media. Subscribe to the Willie Bragg Show. And one quick announcement before my final words is that I haven't had guests in a while, and I'm planning to take care of that fairly soon again. So free and pardon Ed Snowden, free Palestine, free health care for all, and fight like hell to preserve freedom of speech. And until next time, I would say, in context of the UK politics, fuck Keir Starmer. Y'all take care. Bye-bye. You know what? That was a great way to end the show, but I just thought about something just now. Hold on a second here. We will let's go and let's do this. Let's do this. I think this is even for today. This is a better way to end the show. And I'll do it this way. So, and this will end the show right here for tonight. Again, y'all take care. You take it easy.
The people's flag is deepest red. It's shrouded of our martyred dead. And their limbs grew stiff and cold. Their hearts blood died its every fold. Then raised the scarlet standard high. Beneath its shade we live and die. Cowards flinch, traitors steer. We keep the red flag flying here. With its uncovered to bear it onwards till we fall. Or gallows grim, this song shall be our parting hymn. Then raise the scarlet standard high. Beneath its shade we live and die. Cowards flinch, traitors steer. We keep the red flag flying here.
That was the red flag from the 2019 or 2020 conference of the Labour Party, when Jeremy Corbyn was the leader. And that's the sort of thing that's needed. Someone like a Jeremy Corbyn here in the United States. I am out of here, folks. Y'all take care. And I will talk to y'all next time. Bye-bye.